首先播一句英文俾大家聽下先。
We still cannot conclude where the patient get the infection.
相信大家一聽就知係香港人講緊英文，點解會咁？想知就繼續睇落去啦。一講到英文嘅重音，好多香港人通常都會將重音同音高聯繫，因為廣東話嘅聲調好多都係用音高嚟分，所以我哋對音高呢樣嘢會非常敏感。學英文重音嘅時候，往往就會捉住呢一點，覺得重音就等於高音，非重音就等於低音。例如
Apple, cancel,
follow,
modern, parent, people,
simple,
table, welcome, window.
香港人通常單獨讀呢一類第一個音節重音嘅雙音節字，普遍都會好固定咁讀成的，即係對應翻廣東話第一聲第四聲。例如分份、新晨、清晴。
agree, apply, begin,
collect, depend, forget,
Improve,
receive, relax,
support.
而呢一類第二個音節重音嘅雙音節字，普遍就會好固定咁讀成的，即係對應廣東話聲調第六聲同第一聲。例如份分、晨晨、自知。再多啲音節嘅話，例如呢一個字
international,
international,
對好多香港人嚟講，呢個字嘅讀音就係對應廣東話聲調66144的，份份分份份。呢種咁固定嘅對應規律，反映出廣東話母語者作為聲調語言使用者嘅口音特徵。其實除咗讀66144的之外，呢個字單獨讀嘅時候，仲可以係
international,
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 International.
international,
咁我哋聽到呢啲例子嘅發音唔係的，廣東話係音節等時嘅聲調語言。音節等時，顧名思義，即係每個音長度相若。而英文係重音等時嘅非聲調語言，即係句子入面重讀音節之間嘅時間係傾向平均，而唔係每個音節平均。所以其實比起音高，英文更多時候係靠音節嘅長度、大細聲同埋元音有冇弱化嚟呈現重音同埋非重音嘅。尤其如果係喺一句長句子入面，一個詞嘅重音通常都唔係最高音。一齊聽下以下呢幾個例子。
The International Council
of the International Economic Association,
international norms and
received international critical acclaim for
The International Ballroom.
咁我哋可以聽到呢，第一重音 na 都唔係單獨嘅最高音噶，有時候係全個字個音高都一樣嘅，但係共通點都係重音嗰個 na 會相對其他音節長。當然，一般香港人都好易留意到喺一個句子入面讀一隻字同埋單獨讀一個字係有分別噶啦。但係普遍都會用頗有硬性嘅規律咁樣用聲調去演繹嘅。有好多字，包括複合名詞同片語，都有相對固定嘅音調，具體會因應唔同字詞而有所不同。但係整體上都有一啲籠統嘅規律。個規律可以簡單咁用高中低音去概括。高音通常對應廣東話第一聲，中音通常係第六聲，低音通常係第四聲。廣東話1至6聲嘅例子，分粉份份粉份。通常英文嘅重音或者單音節實詞就會對應廣東話嘅高音第一聲，重音前或者單音節虛詞就會係第六聲。重音後如果係句子最後一個音就係第四聲，如果未到句末嘅話就繼續第一聲。個別某啲字會有時讀第二聲，其實第二聲就係第六聲加第一聲前後結合出嚟嘅，所以又可以話係6-1。另外唔同配搭可以影響聲調選擇，例如 I 喺6之前可以係第一聲 I， 第二聲 I 同埋第六聲 I， 但係通常都係第二聲或者第六聲嘅，例如通常係 I am 或者係 I am 嘅。但係喺第一聲之前就只可以係6，例如 I want, I don't， 而唔會係第一聲或者第二聲，即係正常嚟講係唔會讀 I want, I don't 或者係 I want, I don't 嘅。呢種港式英文口音有時甚至可以起到消其意嘅作用。 好多英文字本身同音，甚至同一個字可以有唔止一個意思，而港式口音就好巧妙咁利用音調將佢哋區分開。
There and there, we pronounce them there and there. Instead of then and then, we have then and then. Instead of miss and miss, we have miss and miss. And last but not least, instead of when and when, we have when and when. Or alternatively, when.
Tell me when you go home. You can expect the answer to be 9 o'clock. Tell me when you go home. Then the other person will likely answer with, Yes, I will tell you.
當你叫一個香港人單獨讀呢個字嘅時候，幾乎清一色都會讀 tomorrow。
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
事實上，母語者讀嘅話係可以有其他唔同嘅組合，例如
Tomorrow.
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 Tomorrow。一般香港人讀以下呢一句例句都唔會太偏離611661166111111呢個聲調發音規律嘅，亦即係分分分分分分分分分分分分分分分分分分，而且傾向每個音粒粒分明，差唔多長度。
I am going to study in an international secondary school.
I'm going to study in an international secondary school.
I'm going to study in an international secondary school.
I'm going to study in an international secondary school.
再對比下唔同英文母語者嘅發音規律。
I'm going to study in an international secondary school.
新加坡英文都有類似但係冇咁固定嘅聲調對應同埋音節等時嘅特質，所以對香港人嚟講，聽落去會分外親切。
I'm going to study in an international secondary school.
I'm going to study in an international secondary school.
I'm going to study in an international secondary school.
I'm going to study in an international secondary school.
I'm going to study in an international secondary school.
I'm going to study in an international secondary school.
I'm going to study in an international secondary school.
I'm going to study in an international secondary school.
我哋聽到英文母語者之間嘅語調可以好唔同，每粒音嘅長短可以好不一，仲有一啲會改變成個句子語調嘅情況，例如係句末上升語調，喺某啲語言、方言、口音嘅問句，甚至乎陳述句都會見到。例如英文你可以問 Really？ 雖然最後嗰個音係高音嘅位，但係重音依然係第一個音節 re 嗰度嘅。其實英文有好多唔同種類嘅句末上升語調。以下係全職發音教練 Ben 仔老師嘅一啲示範，佢示範同解釋咗唔同嘅語調可以表達唔同細微嘅分別。
You don't think it's working? You don't really think so? You think I can't make it? There's a chance this would work. I'll come along to the party. You can go ahead if this is what you wish. I don't think that's working. He doesn't speak English. They don't really want that. I don't really want to meet him. She won't be able to teach him. They've got to do something right now.
好多人都錯誤咁樣將重音同音高畫上等號，忽略咗除咗音高之外，其他呈現重音嘅方式。而語調通常都係學外語其中一個最難嘅部分。只要你聽到粒粒分明咁講英文，而且音調固定喺類似廣東話1、2、4、6呢幾個音嘅話，都幾乎可以肯定係香港人講緊英文。
Up to this moment, we still cannot conclude where the patient get the infection.
I understand some people will feel that we are locating rioters or protesters inside hospital. Seems very
Up to this moment, we still cannot conclude where the patient get the infection.
I understand some people will feel that we are locating rioters or protesters inside hospital. Seems very
歡迎大家一齊喺留言區討論下。如果你中意呢類型嘅片，記得俾個 like、subscribe， 撳埋個鐘仔，同埋都分享俾可能中意嘅朋友。我哋下條片再見。